So is the Dodge Charger a reliable vehicle? It's not as easy as just saying yes or no. Yo, what's going on, guys? As you can see in the title and the thumbnail, as I always say, you guys already know, we're talking about reliability. Is the Dodge Charger 392 Scat Pack reliable? And not just the Scat Pack, but I had an RT before this. I had that for about 9 years, almost 90,000 miles, so I could speak a little bit towards whether they're reliable or not. You know, I didn't have it past 100,000 miles, but you know, 9 years, 90,000 miles, that's not bad. You know, I got a little bit of experience, so I'm not coming at you just with a brand new Charger. I actually, you know, have a past history when it comes to the reliability of these Mopar vehicles. So we're gonna be talking about Hellcat, Scat Pack, RT. You know, me personally, I have Scat Pack RT experience. Not too much with the Hellcats, but you know, I could touch on it a little bit, give you guys my opinion. And that's all this is my opinion. I'm not an expert, so take it for what it is. You know, I'm just trying to help you guys out a little bit. So if this is something that you guys are interested in, stay tuned. We're gonna be talking about that and a whole lot more. If you guys enjoy, like, comment, subscribe. I appreciate it greatly. It helps out tremendously with the channel's growth. If you guys wanna be a part of that, that's the way you could do it. But without further ado, let's get it. So is the Dodge Charger a reliable vehicle? It's not as easy as just saying yes or no. It's well known, you know, in the car community, people know about the Hemi tick, and that's not just a Dodge thing. Mustang actually has a tick. I've heard of Camaros having a tick. If you guys are familiar with Rush Shift, the Mustang that he got, when he got it, it had some sort of tick to it. But the one that is most well known is obviously the Hemi tick, and that is a thing. You know, that is something that happens with these vehicles. However, it is not in every vehicle. It's not as common as you would think, and it is preventable. There are certain things that you can do to prevent Hemi tick, or to give yourself a better chance of the vehicle not getting Hemi tick. And I've talked about it in previous videos. I'm not going to touch too much on it here in this video, but I am going to make a video soon focusing on just that, you know, how to prevent Hemi tick, because there are several things that you can do. But as I said, you know, it is a thing, but it's not as common as you would think. It's not like every other vehicle, or you know, everybody deals with it. It's kind of, I wouldn't say that it's rare. It does happen, but as I keep saying, it's not as common as you would think, because people always say Hemi tick, you know, Hemi tick this, Hemi tick that. You would think every vehicle has it, you know, every Hemi has it, you know, even if you hear some little ticking, and a lot of them do have a ticking, but it's not always a Hemi tick. So we'll leave that one there. There is a history of being a Hemi tick, and it might be something that you have to deal with down the line if you don't take the preventative steps that you should take, or if you just catch the bad end of the stick. You know, sometimes you get the lemon, sometimes you get the bad apple, you know, and that's just how the cookie crumbles, man. But I wouldn't be that worried about it when getting into this platform. But it's something that you have to deal with every vehicle, no matter what brand, what company it comes from. There's always the bad ones, maybe some a little more than others. I don't think that Dodge is the worst when it comes to, you know, other companies and other brands and other platforms. I don't think they're like #1 on the list or anything. Obviously there's some that are better, there's some that are worse. I think Dodge, you know, falls somewhere in the middle, in my opinion. You know, I think it would be right there with the Mustangs and the Camaros and all that. Another factor is if you get a V8 or a V6. obviously the V8 is not going to be as reliable, in my opinion, maybe it's not so obvious, as the V6, especially if you get it used. Now when you're getting into that, you know, whether you buy a used one or a new one, obviously the new one is going to be a lot more reliable unless you get that bad apple. But if you get a solid vehicle, as you would hope, obviously when it's brand new, it's going to be much more reliable. Now these cars, when they're used, that's when it gets kind of tricky. That's when it gets kind of, I don't know, man, because when you get these V8s used, you already know. I mean, you see how I drive my car. I don't use and abuse it. I take care of my car. But we like to have fun. We get on it a little bit, and not everybody is going to take care of their car like I do or like you do watching this. Some people, they treat it as if it's, you know, any sort of beater that they found on the street or something like that. You know, they use and abuse it. So for me, that's why I've always been iffy on getting a used vehicle. I've never done it personally. The only used vehicle I ever had was the first vehicle I ever had, and my mom owned that one. So, you know, she passed down the 96 Camry to me, and I had that for a little while before I purchased my 2011 Challenger RT 6-speed. You know what I'm saying? I do miss that 6-speed transmission. And then I came into this, got this brand new, the 2020 wide body Charger Scat Pack, obviously. So I've never purchased a used vehicle from somebody that I knew nothing about. And when it comes to these type of vehicles, that's when I'm gonna have a video on that as well. Like, should you buy a used Scat Pack or Hellcat? Because it's not that you shouldn't, but a lot of times you could look around and see that people use and abuse these type of vehicles, man. Not just Mopar, but Mustang, Camaro, any sort of V8, anything with a little bit of power. People like to do donuts, people like to drift, people like to race, and they do a lot of stuff, man. These motors get used and abused, and you know, sometimes, a lot of times, it's not the best for reliability down the road. So that is obviously something you have to think about if you're getting it used. And getting into, you know, the V8 being a little less reliable probably than a V6. Obviously it's a bigger engine, more power, more reason to beat on it, more reason to get on it. You know, people get V8s, they don't get V8s to save gas and be economical. They get V8s to have their fun, you know. But a lot of people get these type of cars to play with. You know, they're the weekend cars. They don't daily drive them. And we're gonna be getting into that as well. I have a video coming out very soon. I actually made the video, and then my laptop ended up breaking down on me. I had to pay $700 to get that thing fixed, so that kind of hurt the pockets a little bit, but you know, it is what it is. Minor setback for a major comeback. You know, when I was on my way to Washington, that actually happened. But anyways, we ain't gonna get into all that. I had the video done, lost it when the hardware went out, and I'm gonna have to make it again, but I got that video coming for you guys if a Scat Pack or something like this is a good daily driver, because I have been daily driving it for over a year now, so I got a little bit of experience with that, so I'll be able to let you guys know. But as I was saying, a lot of people that get these, they don't drive them every single day, which isn't necessarily a good thing, because if you have it just sitting a lot, these cars are meant to be driven, you know. And I've heard from a lot of people, they get more issues with people that don't drive their cars as much as opposed to people that drive them on a regular basis. You know, these cars need to be started up. They need to be driven. They were made to be driven. They weren't just made to be sitting around. You know, oil sitting around and gas sitting around for too long isn't a good thing. So, you know, as long as you drive it regularly, you don't have to drive it every single day, but you know, at least start it up a few times a week, take it around the block, open the engine up a little bit. You don't have to do it all the time like some of us do, but those are all things that can help with reliability. And this isn't a video on how you can make the car more reliable, but since we were talking about it, I might make a video dealing with that as well. You know, while we're talking about stuff, videos, ideas, they just come up. So we might make a video about that as well pretty soon. I tend to get off topic sometimes, but back to the topic. V6, smaller engine, you know, you're not as likely to get on the V6 like you would a V8. I mean, some people, obviously, they're going to, but most people that buy a V6, especially this type of vehicle, a muscle car where you have the V8 option, most people that get the V6 aren't going to be doing that. And even if you do, it's not as big of an engine, you know, there's not as much going on. So I would say, me personally, I think the V6 would probably be a little more reliable than a V8, because obviously the Hemis have the Hemi tick. The V8s have different issues than the V6s have, and I'm sure the V6s have different issues as well, but in my opinion, I would say the V6s would be more reliable than a V8, especially if you get it used, because all that plays into that as well. You know, if somebody had a V6, it's less likely that they were getting on it all the time and beating that engine up, as opposed to if they had a V8. So when we're talking about reliability, it's not just the performance and the whole mechanics of the vehicle, the engine and all that. We got to talk about the cosmetics as well. You know, cosmetically, are these things reliable? And that's where I would say it goes down a little bit, in my opinion, because I had the Challenger, like I said, for about 9 years, and that's where things kind of fell apart a little bit. There was some performance type things that I dealt with, such as the alternator going out, which was a recall thing. You know, that was something that they had an issue with that year. I had to replace the radiator a couple times, but other than that, as far as performance and mechanical type things, I didn't really have to deal with too much aside from those things. But when it comes to cosmetically, the cosmetic parts, that's where, you know, the dash, if I can show you guys right here real quick. In the Challenger, to those of you that have a Challenger, I can show you a picture as well. Right here is where, in that year, the 2011, this is where the vents were, and this part popped up, and I know several people who said it happened to them. It popped up and it wouldn't come back down, you know, it just stayed up. So I had to deal with that. In the front, the hood, like the little rubber piece came out and it would just flop around, so I had to kind of like tuck it in there, and I know I wasn't the only one that dealt with that. And you know, there was just little things like that. So they're not the best, most well put together type cars. You know, they're not using the best materials and all that. I would say they stepped it up a little bit, you know. Obviously, it's not like top of the line type stuff, but you know, this is soft right here. They didn't just use a bunch of cheap plastic. This is all soft right here. This is kind of, you know, this type of stuff, this is pretty cheap right here. This feels like, you know, if you push on it hard enough, your finger will go right through it. But you know, a lot of the stuff in here does feel kind of, you know, pretty quality. But in my experience with the other, you know, I had a 2011, that one, it wasn't the most well put together vehicle. So that's just something to keep in mind. In that aspect, they're not the best well put together type vehicles. Though they have got better, I haven't had the experience that long to where I could say this one's falling apart or anything. But in the past with my other vehicle, that was an issue. One thing I also will say is I know a lot of people with Chargers, I know a lot of people with Mustangs and Camaros, and out of all those cars, I don't really see the Chargers dealing with too much stuff. But with that being said, you know, the people that I know with Mustangs and Camaros, they do a lot of stuff to them. You know, they're not really stock. And the Chargers, a lot of Chargers you're gonna find that are pretty much stock for the most part, apart from long tube headers and things like that. A lot of the people with Chargers that I know, they don't really do the bolt-ons like that. And the Mustang guys, the Camaro guys, you already know, man, it's full bolt-on. Some guys got boost in them. You don't really see that too much with the Chargers or the Challengers. But shout out to my guy Rome Lowlife, because he does actually have a boosted Challenger, and it actually did blow up on him. You know, the bottom end, the stock bottom end did blow on him, but I think he was having some issues with the tune or something from the previous person. Or the previous person, actually, it blew on him and he was having issues with the tune. I don't know, you could go ask him about that. I'll put his page up right here for you guys. Go check him out because he has some dope stuff. And just like that, there goes the GoPro. You know, in every video it has to overheat or freeze or do something, man. Shout out to GoPro. You guys are the best, you know? I mean, they really are the best at what they do, but goddamn, if these things weren't glitchy, like, I don't even know, man. Super glitchy. That thing pisses me off, but at the same time it amazes me, so it's like you can't get rid of it, man. Maybe I'll sell this one and get the GoPro Hero 9. I don't know. But anyways, shout out to Rome. That's one dope car. And as far as when he's had it, you know, he has it boosted and all that. From my knowledge, you know, it's been pretty reliable ever since he had it. But he does have a 6.2 in there now, I believe. And, you know, he did build it up a little. And that brings me to another thing is, like, if we're keeping it stock, obviously it's going to be way more reliable than if you're modding it up. These cars are not going to be very reliable, in my opinion, and the research that I have done. That's why a lot of people do not mod them, is because one, it's expensive as hell, and two, they're not the most reliable. You're not going to gain a lot of power from the mods that you put and the money that you put in. And then when it comes to boost, you can't really go past 6 pounds. You go anywhere past 6, 7 pounds, 7, you're pushing it. But once you go beyond that, there goes the bottom end, and you know, you're out a good chunk of money. So if you want to do anything to this, you got to spend some money. So once you get into mods, and that's with any vehicle, man, once you get into mods, it becomes that much less reliable. It's not just these cars. But with that being said, there are some cars like Mustangs and Camaros that do a whole lot better with mods. But with all that being said, do I think this car is reliable? Do I think the Challengers and the Chargers are reliable? And the Hellcats, we didn't really talk too much about the Hellcats, and from what I've seen, Hellcats are pretty damn reliable, you know. I will say that before anything, from what I've seen, Hellcats are pretty reliable, man. The way that Dodge put out that Hellcat, and you know, whatever they did with it, they did pretty good, man, because you know, you see them, they be taking a beating. People beat the crap out of those cars and they keep going. So I would say that the Hellcats are pretty reliable. As far as the Scat Packs and the RTs and all that, I would say that they are pretty reliable as well, you know, as long as you do certain things to prevent Hemi tick and other things like that. As long as you upkeep your vehicle just the same as any other vehicle, you know, it goes for all cars, not just these, then I would say, you know, there is some of these cars in the 200,000-300,000 mile ranges. You know, they've been around for a while, so I would say for the most part they are reliable. You probably will deal with some cosmetic unreliability, if that makes any sense. You know, there probably is more unreliabilities in the cosmetics, but as far as performance and the mechanicals go, I would say that they are pretty reliable. So hopefully that helped you guys. That's pretty much everything that I could think of. Maybe I forgot some stuff. If I did, drop it down below in the comments. Let me know what you guys think. Do you guys think these cars are reliable? Do you think they're unreliable? Let me know what you think, and let me know why you think that. All links are down below in the description for anything you guys might need. Everything I use on the channel, the 1391 apparel, and we got some new stuff coming with that, so stay tuned. We got a whole lot of stuff on the way, man. I'm so excited for what's to come, so stay tuned. But once again, thank you guys so much. I really appreciate it. Until the next time, who is LouieXIII checking out. Salute.